Are you an ACON, an adult child of a narcissist? If so, you have been conned. You've been conned into believing all these things about yourself that simply aren't true. Narcissistic parents will program you with so much information that is not the truth of who you are. And when you grow up to be an adult, you're just going to be repeating these patterns, and you're going to have specific traits that may be holding you back from being the person you know you can be, the person you know you really want to be in your life. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about some of the top traits of adult children of narcissists, and I'm also going to be giving you some information that's a little bit different. I'm going to even give you an exercise at the end of this video to help you with wherever you are in your healing process. Because if you are an ACON, then you are going to need help. And you're going to need help all along the way. You're going to need to be reminded about what the truth really is, the truth of you, the truth of who you really are, because the truth has been shrouded. You've been given smoke and mirrors and all kinds of things to deflect you from knowing the truth about yourself, because the truth is powerful. And the last thing your narcissistic parent wants you to be is powerful, independent, be yourself, and be something better than they are, even though they already know you are. All right. All right, so I am Dr. Meg Haworth, and I'm a transpersonal psychologist and a holistic nutritional chef, and I help women survivors, sensitive women survivors of parental narcissistic abuse to heal holistically, helping them release the trauma from the body that's being held from these past experiences, and also I help them with nutrition to support the body to heal itself. So what are these traits of adult children of narcissistic parents? Well, the first one, and I think it's the one that's talked about the very most, and we're going to start with that one, is a fragile sense of self, of self-esteem, of self-worth, of personal self-value, because you've been told over and over and over again that you are not good enough. You can never measure up. You can never be good enough for that narcissistic parent, no matter how much or how hard you try, no matter how many hoops you jump through, you can't do it. It's just not possible. So you get this message that you're not lovable, that you don't matter, you're not important, and you're not good enough. And so that's a really hard thing to overcome. So this results in really low self-esteem and self-worth. And one of the primary things that you learn is that love is conditional. And so this leads me to the second trait that I want to talk about, is that you pair love with abuse. And so what that means is you're going to look for love that feels abusive. And it's not because you want to be abused, it's because you're accustomed to the cycle of abuse. So you're going to believe that love is conditional, and that love is going to put you down. It's going to make you feel less than. You're going to be used to being love bombed during times when the narcissist really just wants something from you. And so you'll be likely to attract another narcissistic mate or some other kind of abusive situation. And so healing this part of the self, these beliefs that you are not lovable, or you're not good enough to be loved, or you don't deserve real love, which is one of the another one of the messages that you get when you are an ACON. Number 3 is that you may have extreme people-pleasing tendencies. So you want to get it right, you bend over backwards for people, you do things for people all the time, and this sets you up for codependent relationships where you're taking care of the other person who may be really fragile and may need a whole lot of help. And so you're focusing on them so that you're not focusing on yourself. You weren't taught that it was okay to focus on yourself. You're supposed to focus on the other. And if you have a narcissistic mate, then you will be focusing on the other. If you had a narcissistic parent, it's the same thing. You're going to be focusing on them. Even if you leave them, even if you cut off communications with them, you may have this pattern already so ingrained in you. Do this for me. You must do all of these things for me. Being programmed into you by your parent. And so that's another thing to really look at, is what are the ways that you're pleasing others, and what are some ways that you can begin to say, no, I'm not available for that. That's, I'm not going to be doing that. That's not something that I have time to do at this point. So there are all kinds of things that you can learn along the way, all kinds of tactics to help you heal from this, or to help you at least deal with the narcissist in your life. But in a little bit, I'm going to be talking about something that you can do to actually heal from this. Okay, number 4, one of the common traits is addiction. Unfortunately, addiction or, heavy drinking, you may not be an addict, you may not be an alcoholic, but you may resort to heavy drinking, overeating, over shopping. You can be addicted to relationships, to serial monogamous relationships where you go from one to the next to the next. And again, they're probably going to be codependent, so that you're looking for somebody that you can take care of because you're so used to taking care of the narcissistic parent. Again, you've been programmed in this way. So these addictive behaviors, you can be addicted to prescription drugs. There are so many different things that you can be to control, of trying to control your environment or something. There's all different ways that you can become addicted to things. And you're doing it to try to numb the pain, or you're doing it to try to avoid the pain, or to avoid looking at the things that are bubbling up from the surface, the shame that you've been holding for your narcissistic parent or guardian, the guilt that you've been holding for them because they've been projecting this onto you. They've been shaming you and guilting you your whole life. And so you'll be doing those kinds of things to yourself. And you'll be looking for relationships that will continue reinforcing this. Again, not because you want to. I honestly think it's so that you can heal it. And you're being given more opportunities to heal these situations in you. And you're being given more opportunities to understand that you are the creator. You are the one who can create the life that you really want. But you just have to become that independent, sovereign person that you were meant to become all along. Okay, number 5, anxiety and depression are really common traits of narcissistic abuse survivors, of ACONs. Anxiety, you're anxious all the time, you're worried all the time, and you were programmed to be worried. You're supposed to worry all the time about that narcissistic parent. It gives them so much of your energy, so much of your own personal power, and you're so accustomed to giving this away to other people that you won't even notice you're doing it until you notice you're doing it. And then you get to change it. So yay, congratulate yourself for that. Give yourself a big hug. So anxiety and depression, those two things really go together so well because they're intertwined with one another. That overarching sense of sadness, because it is sad when you think about all of the things that were sacrificed for you, the things that you sacrificed and didn't even realize you were sacrificing because you were being programmed by your narcissistic parent to think a certain way, to be a certain way, and to do certain things for them. Because again, it's always, always, always going to be about them. And the way out of this is to make it about you. Begin making your life all about you, and all about figuring out what's your contribution? What are your traits that are your skills, your talents, your abilities? So I'll get to that in a few minutes. We're going to talk a little bit more about something that you can do to help yourself. Okay, so the next trait after anxiety and depression, I'm going to talk about perfectionism. So you never got it right? You were programmed that you were never good enough. And so you may become a perfectionist, and it may be to the point where it's crippling. So you don't get things done because you're so afraid to turn it in, to share it with the world. You're afraid of the judgment. You're afraid of the way people are going to treat you around it, because you're so used to also being put down all the time. You're so used to criticism, and criticism is painful. So if you have all of these traits and you have that weakened sense of self and self-esteem, you may be ultra sensitive. And I am not dissing sensitivity, because sensitivity is an important quality. But I'm talking about the sensitivity that levels you to the point where you can't get out of bed. That's an overage of emotions that, like anxiety, like fear, like sadness, those have become toxic to your system over time because they've been thrown at you, drilled into you, put into you. So releasing those from your system, and that's something that I help people with, is releasing that emotional toxic energy that is in your system and is making you sick. And so I get to watch people get well, which is really cool. It's exactly what I did in my own life. So perfectionism, again, having high standards for yourself, that's a wonderful thing. But when it comes to being such a perfectionist that you are so hard on yourself, you're just mean to yourself, you're cruel to yourself, very much in the same way that your narcissistic parent was cruel to you, that's a problem. And that's something that you can turn around, you can shift and change, and you can learn to just hold those high standards for yourself and do things really well and just be okay with it. Okay, so the next one is number 7 is eating disorders. So even though this is really much to do with addictive personalities, I put it kind of in its own category because eating disorders are really common among ACONs because of the self-punishment aspect of eating disorders. And this can be overeating to where you're obese and you're just trying to pad yourself and keep your emotional self safe with the padding that you're putting on yourself. That temporary relief of that delicious sugary food that you're eating and you're piling into your system that's making you sicker and sicker, making you worse and worse, is actually keeping you debilitated and keeping you in exactly the place that narcissistic parent wants you to be in. So when you start to look at, oh my gosh, I am participating in this, and this is making them stronger. No, you don't want to do that anymore. You want to be able to take your own energy back, your own power back, and use that for you. Use that for your life. I know so many empaths and sensitives over the years that I've worked with that are, and I was one of them at one point, literally laid up in bed, crying, curled up in a ball, having panic attacks and fear and terrified and sick and afraid to do anything because you're so debilitated from this kind of abuse over and over and over again. But you can get out of bed. You can heal. I know you can. I've done it myself, and I've helped just hundreds and hundreds of people and reached thousands, probably if not millions at this point, to help them understand that you are a holistic being. And when you heal every part of the self, the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, with that energy, energetic shifts, energy dynamics, it is so much more rapid acting, and it can really help you heal permanently. So I love the word heal, though. It is an ongoing process. So just know that too. Okay. So like I said, eating disorders like anorexia, bulimia, you just can't be enough. You're obsessed with one thing. You're obsessed with being thin. You're obsessed with exercising. You're obsessed. That obsessive sort of compulsive disorder kind of thing is very much associated with eating disorders. And again, they can also be healed. Number 8 is self-sabotage. We can do all kinds of behaviors. Again, remember how I was saying you're really hard on yourself? You're extra hard on yourself and extra self-critical because you were trained to be critical because you were criticized over and over and over again. And so you start reinforcing, you just naturally reinforce that in yourself. So start really looking at your self-talk. How are you talking to yourself? What are you saying to yourself? What are the messages that you're sending to yourself? Because you might want to just really monitor the words you're saying and start changing them. I mean, that's a big thing that's going to go a long way to helping you feel better and helping you to accept yourself, the truth of who you are, because that's what I want you to unveil. I want you to uncover. One of the things about self-sabotage, too, is that it keeps you in shame. You've heard of shame spiral? Well, that's really what self-sabotage helps you to do because you feel bad about the thing that you did. And like, let's take overeating, for instance. I mean, that's kind of an easy one to look at. Like, okay, oh my gosh, you just ate a whole bag of cookies and you just just wolfed them down and they were so delicious and all of that. But then you're sitting there going, oh my God, I don't feel good. Oh, I can't believe I just did that. What an idiot. I can't believe I did that. So you see, you're going down into the shame spiral. You're basically telling yourself you're a bad person, you did wrong, you're bad over and over again. So shame is the most dense emotion that there is. It's something that I work with all of my abuse survivors, is helping them to release shame and how they're holding it in their bodies. Because it is a very toxic, dense, and difficult emotion. So that's highly associated with addiction, also with eating disorders, with perfectionism, all of those, because you're shaming yourself. And the narcissism is a shame-based, shame-driven disorder. So your narc parent is just spewing their shame at you all the time because they can't sit with it. They can't look at it. They can't be introspective enough to do that. So because they can't, they're projecting it on everyone else around them. And if you are the child of, then it was projected right on you and into your subconscious mind. So you really believe this and you keep spinning it and seeing it out in your reality. So, and again, we're going to talk about that in just a moment, but I have one more thing I want to talk about. Number 9 is over responsibility. So you feel overly responsible for everything that goes on. And the main reason that this happens is because you were blamed for everything. You took responsibility because your narc parent never took accountability, responsibility for anything that they did. So you are blaming yourself, you're shaming yourself. And in your adult relationships, you will tend to take on things that other people did. You will feel bad for it. And so you'll go to them and you'll apologize to them for something they did to you. But this is a spiral that you're already in from being an ACON. So I'm going to talk about something that I think is really powerful. I know is really powerful. It's made a huge difference in my own life and in the life of my clients. And that's to begin to reprogram your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind is this deep well of information and it's collected all of this stuff and it's putting it out into the world. All of the stuff that you've been programmed to think, feel, believe, do. And if you're an ACON, you just heard all the stuff I just said, right? You don't want to be that. Right? You don't want to be programmed with this subconscious belief that you're not good enough, that you're unlovable, that you are filled with shame and you should be ashamed of yourself. There's just the ick, right? You can feel the ick, just me talking about it. So to begin to reprogram your subconscious mind, what I want you to do is this next exercise. Now, this is my favorite exercise. I give it to my clients. As something that's really empowering for them. And I know it's been really empowering for me. So what I want you to do is I want you to start to notice what are your best qualities. And if you have a hard time with this, I want you to go to your best friend, somebody who adores you, and ask them, hey, what are my best qualities? And I want you to write them down. And then, but I want you to recognize them in yourself. And even if you say like, oh, well, I'm really intelligent. But I don't feel so, I kind of feel stupid when this happens. Fine, just put that aside, okay? Just put the limitation aside and let's focus on the thing about you that is pretty freaking awesome. And focus on that. I want you to make this list of your qualities. I am brilliant. I am kind. I am loving. I am caring. I am great at negotiating. I am, if you're an ACON, you might be really great at negotiating, especially if you had to negotiate two parents, where you watched the abuse go on with one parent to the other parent. You may be an excellent mediator, which is a wonderful skill to have. I'm sorry you had to gain the skill that way, but there are skills that come out of narcissistic abuse that may be actually really helpful to you and to others. And so just write down this list of all these things that you're great at, your skills, your talents, your abilities, and your qualities. These are your spiritual qualities, your soul qualities, where you're recognizing the indelible part of you, the permanent part of you. And you're saying, oh, I recognize you. I recognize you, Joy. I'm joyful. I'm fairy-like. I'm likable. I'm the life of the party, whatever it is. I am an introvert, and I love that about myself, I'm introspective. Just anything you can think of. So write this list down, and then I want you to post it somewhere where you can read it. I want you to read it every day, and I want you to feel, I am kind. What does that feel like? Oh, it feels so good to know that I'm kind. And here's an example. I paid somebody's parking meter yesterday, something. I am thoughtful. And then think of an example and how good that felt that you were thoughtful and that you helped somebody who, brought lunch to somebody who was sick and they needed help. And you did it because you love them and you care about them and you're empathetic and kind. So just really start to look at those qualities that you have. And this starts to reprogram your subconscious mind so that you start filling it with the truth of who you are instead of filling it with this programming that you received that was just not true. It was pure junk. It was the worst possible things that a person, your own parent, could put into your subconscious mind. Instead of loading you up with love, with self-confidence, with appreciation, with joy, with peace, with kindness, all of those things, with support, they didn't do that for you, but you can do that for you. And that's one of the beauties of discovering a video like this that can help you, discovering work that can assist you in healing from such a difficult thing to go through. But trust me, you can heal from this, and I'm here for you. If you need help, if this resonates with you and you're looking for this kind of help, then I would be happy to talk to you. I do coaching and therapy with anyone, anywhere in the world. Just book a free call with me, and we'll talk about what your needs are, what you're looking for. And if we might be a good fit to work together, then we can work together. I also have some courses coming up. And if you haven't already gotten it, I want you to go to my website at meghaworth.com/narcissisticparents/. And I want you to get 52 ways to tell if your parent is a narcissist, even though you are convinced, you already know. It is so good to have these reminders. So go ahead and get that list, that checklist, and see where you stand on that list. And it also gets you on my email list so that you can learn more about the work that I'm doing and the upcoming courses that are bite-sized courses that are affordable, where you can work on various exact thing you need to heal. So anyway, I'm Dr. Meg Haworth, and thank you so much for listening this far, and I hope that this information will help you get well now.